Assessment 2, Electronic Resource Kit by Imogen Connell. The first resource I chose is a documentary called Myths of Childhood, Perfection. The documentary shows interviews with parents, teachers, psychologists, and children, and explores questions like, what is the perfect childhood? Is it possible? And should we want one for our children? It explores topics such as adversity in childhood and the use of praise in building resilience and self-esteem in children. I chose the documentary because I found it relevant to pre-service teachers. The fears the parents expressed I often could relate to, such as the fear that everything you say, do, or think around a child will ultimately decide how that child turns out in the long run, when in fact that simply is not the case. From the documentary, I now better understand that childhood development and well-being is not a formula of input and output, but is actually much more complex and different for every child. Resource 2 is a model by the Department of Education and Training called Building Resilience. The website provides links to the curriculum and curriculum resources for building resilience in children. I chose this resource because I think that resilience is a really important character trait for people of any age to possess. Resilience plays a big part in self-esteem and learning outcomes, particularly for children facing adversity or disadvantage. I found it to be particularly easy to use and particularly easy to follow and useful guide for teachers. Resource 3 is a children's picture book called It's a Small World. It's a sing-along book with an audio CD of the song with the same name. I chose this book because not only is it fun for kids to read and sing along with, but the book also teaches children about diversity and people from other cultures through the illustrations and song lyrics. The book is a great tool for opening discussions about diversity, tolerance, difference, and multiculturalism. With a sing-along, it is also great for children to learn to read along to. Resource 4 is a documentary series called the Life Series. The series is a longitudinal study of children from different families and socioeconomic backgrounds, and it follows them from birth to 9 years. It documents their development through the years, their social, emotional, and physical development. The series is really educational for pre-service teachers, and the readings from the unit this year directly relate to childhood development and the content of the documentary. You're able to see the real-life examples of these theories in practice through the documentary, and you can also see how those theories are different for each child and how they come into play in practical examples. The documentary series really deepened my understanding of children and their development milestones and their social, emotional, and intellectual needs. Resource 5 is a documentary called 2E, Twice Exceptional. It's a documentary about gifted children who also have learning disabilities which prevent them from reaching their full potential. The documentary is a great example of how teachers can adapt their practice and teaching to cater to the diverse social, emotional, and intellectual needs of their students. The students interviewed had previously been labelled as at risk, lazy, or uneducable, but by providing flexible learning options and taking a strengths-based approach, these students were able to overcome significant obstacles to excel in their areas of strength. Resource 6 is a link to the Australian Government's Australian Institute of Family Studies website. The website provides links to mandatory reporting legislation, information, and information about domestic violence and child protection services. It also provides links to community organisations. The website is an important resource for teachers because it promotes mandatory reporting, gives reliable information which will allow teachers to be on the lookout for children who could be in danger of harm, and what teachers can do if they do identify a student in that situation. The protection of children is particularly important from an educational perspective, because from a humanist's point of view, learning can't occur and children cannot reach their full learning potential unless their basic needs have been met, such as the need for safety and adequate care, according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Resource 7 is a blog called Play Outside. The blog provides a whole range of outdoor play activities for children, ranging from art and craft to veggie patches and planter boxes. Many of the activities can be brought into the school environment and can really benefit children's mental and physical well-being. The activities encourage physical activity and in some cases healthy eating even, and have a focus on play-based learning, which we've established is really important for developing neural connections in children and helping them to build problem-solving skills. It also, play-based learning early on in childhood has been shown in studies that helps children later on in life improve their memory recall skills, and often they have greater learning outcomes further on in life. The activities also teach kids about nature and sustainability, which can be incorporated into other classroom discussions about sustainability, the environment, green projects, etc. So it does have a larger link to sort of global citizenship and being a responsible citizen, things like that, which are really important and are emphasised in many points of the curriculum already. Resource 8 is a link to a website called Class Dojo. The main thing that I liked on the website was that there was an animated video series for kids which teaches them about growth mindset and how their brain is like a muscle that needs to be worked out to get stronger. Undoubtedly, the video got their inspiration from Dweck, who came up with the idea of fixed versus growth mindset. As a teacher, I think it is really important for you yourself to have a growth mindset and to know how to encourage that mindset in your students, because of the real difference it can make to students' learning outcomes and their self-esteem and levels of engagement in the classroom. So I think that definitely having a growth mindset is really important for students to excel. Resource 9 is a guide for writing reports and reflections from a strengths-based perspective. The guide was intended to help teachers when writing reports for parents on student progress, but I think that the guide also serves as a great template for when you're writing your own reflections. By having a consistent strengths-based approach in your own documentation, it will help you to see that student for their strengths and teach accordingly. The guide is a great tool to improve your teaching and process of reflection. So by consistently writing and having to write in this strengths-based approach, you're sort of making your thinking automatic, and you're always going to be thinking from a strengths-based perspective as well, and when you're teaching, so that it just becomes automatic after a while.